Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. I am Bob Van Buren, your host, and got some really good news for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen that are watching this, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this much later. Very happy tonight, not only for the guests that I have tonight, but this is episode number 80 of the Van Buren Variety Show. This is my 80th episode. Couldn't imagine, when I started this last year, that I'd have 80 episodes already and 80 great guests and 80 great topics. And want to give a special thanks to every guest that has been on this show. Could not have done it without you. You've given me some very interesting topics to cover. So many miscellaneous subjects. Really appreciate that. Also, I want to give a special thanks to my audience who tunes in every week to watch this live. And even those that missed the live show but then watch it much later. Whenever you watch it, I really appreciate it. And so if you haven't subscribed yet, if you're brand new or if you've been watching and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Sure would like to have you as a subscriber, and that way you can keep track of future episodes and future discussions. And tonight also, if you like the author that we have tonight and like the subject, there's a like button there. So whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this later, if you like what you're hearing, you like the guest and the topic, there's a like button. So hit that like button. I'm sure our guest tonight would really appreciate that. I've had a really great week, a very interesting week. In a way, I guess you could say I kind of went back into time, in a way. If you have family, your parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, you never know what they're going to put back. Specifically from your childhood. Well, I went through a little box, mini boxes that my mother has kept over the years, and we were going through that box the other day. I was curious to see what all she had kept, and one particular item caught my eye. I'll tell you what it is before I show you. It was my very first storybook, and she even wrote on the inside cover I was 2 to 3 years old. And so, without further ado, this is Bob Van Buren's first book in his life. She even wrote a note inside the cover to paraphrase, Bob loves this bedtime story. He's 2 to 3 years old. I'm like, yeah, thanks, Mom. But hey, I had forgotten about that book. But man, she kept it after all these years. So, yeah, I remember that story very well. So, that's one of many things from my childhood. So yeah, there you see it. There's my first book in my life. So I'm sure we all are familiar with that book. So you never know what your family's going to keep, right? So, but I'm glad she kept that. So thanks a lot, Mom. Speaking of books, I've asked this question before, but I really need you guys to think about this. Have you read a good book lately? But not just any book. I mean, there are dramas, there are comedies, there's horror, there's science fiction, but I like an author who can write different types of genre and mysteries in particular. Expect the unexpected. And if you're like me and you like that kind of genre, I have got the perfect guest for you tonight. And we're going to talk about all of her works. And when I say all her works, ladies and gentlemen, she hasn't just written this much. She's written this much. So there's a whole wide selection that we're going to be talking about tonight. And so without further ado, I'll zip it and I'll bring my guest on tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to author Anne Charles. She's going to be talking about her works and her commitment to the projects that she's got, and also a way you can buy her works at the end of the show. So Anne, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Thank you for having me. And I think I had that book too, The Three Bears.
Did you have that too as a child?
I know that cover. So as soon as you showed that to me, I was like, I know that cover. It's like way back in my memory. So yeah.
Yeah. But I guess, I'll take her word for it. When I was 2 to 3 years old, she wrote, he loves this story read to him. Well, I'm sure every child like that. So.
No, I had a bunch of those golden
books or something like that. Yeah.
Right. That I would just reread over and over and over. And then I had, Sesame Street, the monster at the end of the book?
Grover. Yes, I remember that one too. I had it
favorites.
I had that book, but I think I destroyed it, not on purpose, but kids don't care, So
Right.
I think Mom probably took this up before I got into elementary school to make sure she kept it, so it stayed in one place.
Right. Before you started coloring all over the pages when you
Yes,
got
exactly, and ripping pages and
ripping.
stomping on it.
Right.
Well, let's talk about your books, and I tell my audience, you've written a wide variety of books, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just show you before we start the interview. I'll give you a sample of what she's done. Now, if you're looking at each one of these, you see AC Silly Circus, you see Deadwood, you see Holiday Tales, and you see Jackrabbit Function. But these are not standalone books. Look at the word under each one of those titles. It says series. So there's not just one book. There are 2, 3, 4, possibly even 6 to 12 of each of these series that she's written. And not just this, there's another one called Dig Site. You'll notice this is also a series. So if you don't like standalone books, if you want to keep keeping up with the characters and keeping up with the adventure, I think this is the series for you. So, Anne, I'll just turn it over to you. Any particular one that you want to discuss first, or another book you want to talk about?
Well, we could start with the Deadwood series.
Deadwood series, okay.
Yeah, the one in the upper corner there. And I'm not good with right and left, even after 50 plus years. So I'm just going to say the upper corner. Yeah, so that was the first book in that series is Nearly Departed in Deadwood. And it's the Deadwood Mystery Series or the Deadwood Humorous Mystery Series. And there's also paranormal mix, or well, they call it supernatural now in the book marketing world, but supernatural mixed in. There's mystery. There's a lot of humor throughout all of my series. Humor is a very strong part of the stories because I just love to mix humor with, I guess, bodies and supernatural scary creatures because I think it makes it more fun. But so that series, the first book, Nearly Departed in Deadwood, I released in January of 2011. And there's a little story behind that first book in that I had been writing for much longer than, just a couple of years. I started writing in the mid to late 1990s. And I kept trying different things and trying to write different stories. And in the meantime, I had life happening off on the side, getting that 10-year college degree for really just a 4-year degree because I took the long route through college. I worked full time when I did it. I was married and then I divorced and then I got married again. And then I actually had a couple kids too, all before this book was released. So I had life happening at the same time, but I kept trying. And that book is actually the 8th novel that I wrote. So I didn't publish the first thing I wrote. I hand wrote that and it's in my office, buried, never to be shown, but I have it. And it's kind of a trophy for me in that I finished a book, and it was not easy, but I did it, and it's crap, but hey, I did it.
Hey, you did it. So is this part of the Deadwood series, this book?
So that's the first one. And
the very first one.
And I was still old school then, trying to go through big publishers in New York and with different books. And that, like I said, was my 8th book, I believe. And I actually hooked an editor that liked it, and we went through some editing in one of the big major houses. And we made our way all the way up over the next 6 to 9 months to the final acquisitions meeting. And that's where they come in with marketing and editing and everybody, and they're going to decide how many books they're going to option and what all they're going to do, how this is going to go. And at that time, marketing came in and said, we don't think this book is going to sell. It's not set on the East or West Coast. It's set in the Midwest. It's set in Deadwood, South Dakota. Yeah. And those are they're flyover states. And we don't think there's going to be enough interest.
Sounds interesting to me.
And so I was pretty perturbed because I said, you think I'm from the Midwest. Do you think people in the Midwest don't? Yeah, like we don't read? Because what, we're too busy out on the tractor?
Yeah.
No, we read like crazy, and we're huge readers. But so it really lit a fire under me. And that was a good thing. In the end, I didn't think so at first, of course. It felt like I got sucker punched. But in the end, but in the end, it was a good thing because it lit a match under me where I said, okay, big houses, if this is the way you're going to be, I'll do this on my own, form a company, and a publishing company, small press. And that was when ebooks were really just starting to get going on Amazon.
Sure.
And I thought, we can do this. I'll figure it out, and went forth and published that book. But in the meantime, as I was going through that process, I put it in 2 different major national contests. One was for mystery. It was the Daphne du Maurier. And the other was for romance, which was the Romance Writers of America. 2 big national contests. And it won both. First place in all over for the mystery one, and then first place, of course, in my category. They only had categories for it was strong romantic elements, I think, because there is a romance subplot throughout too, so I could fit it into this one little category. But it won, and so when I got that rejection, I thought, you know what? I think we should let the readers decide.
Absolutely.
And put it out there and see. Not what a marketing team of 10 or whatever people are going to say. We're going to let readers read it and go forth. And that was the start. And it has been amazing, the reception for that book. And I've now I'm working on book 13. Book 12 that I released last year was Never Say Sever in Deadwood. And you have that one. It's kind of got the turquoisey cover with I think she's got an axe, or trying to remember which weapon.
Was this it? Or no, that's the first one.
That's nearly, yeah, it's turquoise, and there's like a shelf with a stuffed fox or
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Bingo.
There. Yeah, I know I get it. I know I had it.
So yeah, and throughout that whole series we play with titles. We change words by crossing them out, like how it's
I like what you did there.
But yeah, and it's like Nearly Departed in Deadwood was dearly, and then we crossed off the D and we make it N. So
yes.
Yeah. So we play with titles, but I'm getting ready to start the writing the 13th in this series, and this is of all the series, this is my most popular so far, and it's the longest too. That may have something to do with, but fans really enjoy. It's set in, like I said, Deadwood, South Dakota, and they enjoy that. They like, and I have a lot of readers from, I mean, not just the Midwest, all over, but.
That's great.
We have a fan party in Deadwood every year that we're getting ready to go to here in 2 weeks. And we get a lot of wonderful people from Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, up into Canada, and all over through there.
That's great.
Who enjoy it, because I really try hard to get the setting just like the town of Deadwood. So you can go to Deadwood, and if you've read the books, you can picture it all even better, because I use public buildings and actual stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, can you just give a synopsis without giving us, away any kind of details? Just kind of what's the synopsis, or what's kind of you said you called it a Deadwood mystery. Kind of what's happening with the characters here? So
this what you see on the screen with the purple boots, it's Violet Parker, and this is a first-person mystery. So we're always in Violet's head. And the fun thing about Violet is, from the start, Deadwood, if you've ever been there in real life, people will tell you that live there, that work there, how haunted it is. I can't tell you how many buildings and places I've been in where they say, well, this is haunted by so-and-so or such and such ghost. So in the real town, if you are sensitive to ghosts, you may feel a lot when you're in Deadwood. So anyway, I wanted to have this mom, and she's got 2 twins that are 9 years old, so they're younger. And the dad was never really in the picture. He didn't want anything to do with the kids when she got pregnant. But she's trying her hand at being a real estate agent. And so she's moved up to Deadwood, living with her aunt and selling these houses that so many things are haunted. But she does not have the ability to see ghosts. She doesn't. So people all around her are seeing things, but you're only ever in her head, in Violet's head. So you can only see what she sees. So you get to kind of have fun determining what's real, what's, if somebody's kind of like a little cuckoo, or if there really are ghosts, there. So that's
there is a paranormal element in it then.
Oh, yes. And it grows stronger. It starts out stronger with mystery. But the paranormal, the supernatural elements go stronger with the series as it goes. And there's a whole series arc where Violet, learns more about who she is and where she came from and her role and why she was kind of called to Deadwood, where it seems like, she just showed up, but really there was a reason she had to come to Deadwood.
There.
Yes. See. So, and you learn that as the story keeps going, along with all the other characters. Yeah. And the other thing we do on all these books, the Deadwood series books, is there's always a weapon. and it changes with every book. If you look at,
Oh, wow.
I think you had Optical Delusions in Deadwood, and that had a rolling pin. It's the green dress, and she's leaning against the side, and I think there's a chain link fence in the background.
Yeah, I can't find it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I know you have a bunch of them, but
Yeah.
we do have fun. My brother does my cover art. He is an artist, and once I got rejected from the big publisher, he said, "Hey, I'd like to try my hand at helping you with your covers," and I was like, "Original art for the covers? I'm all in. Let's do this." So
Absolutely. Did a great job.
yeah, he's really great. And then my husband is a graphic artist, self-taught. So he works with my brother and me, and the three of us, we come up with the covers and do all the work for and all these books have illustrations because my brother does some illustrations for each book. So that's kind of fun that it's like old time, picture books, just a few, not a ton, but enough to give you some ideas and fun spots.
You know what? I know everybody else, I mean, for me, like looking at this cover art right here, and my focus kept going to that fox under the table, but I completely ignored the right side of the book where there's something peeping around the corner. So that tells you how observant I am. So I'm sure that comes into play in the book, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Whoa.
Yes. So when you're putting together covers, you're trying to show elements of the different genre. Like the mystery is the bloody axe, so there's some mystery in it, and then the supernatural is that little thing back there. That's not a normal creature peeking around the corner. So you're showing that, but then we have the purple boots on all the different books, and that's the branding that shows you this is a Violet Parker novel in the Deadwood Humorous Mystery Series.
And let me just ask you, in real life, what's the population of Deadwood, if you had to guess?
I think it's around 1,500, and then there's Lead, which is a sister city about 3 miles away, and I think they have around 3,000. So they're smaller towns, and they're centered around the old Homestake gold mine that was started way back in the late 1800s, and then was going strong through till they closed it down. I think it was in the 90s to 2000s when they finally just done. And now it's been, I don't know if they lease it or what, by a company that's scientific research. They're down there in the mines. They've pumped all the water out again because they'd filled them with water after they were done, but they've drained them, and they're digging further, and they're putting all these dark matter labs. So they're using the mine again, which is really cool because they're a mile down. I mean, it's the whole, it's honeycombed through there. The Black Hills are honeycombed with mines from this huge gold mining company.
I'm going to ask you, I guess they have ghost tours there,
Right. Yeah, they do. They have a bunch of different, like there's a brothel that was just finally shut down in 1980s.
So now
a brothel. And I've done the haunted brothel tour before it was officially. I mean, I got someone that owned it to take me up through when it was still just remnants of what it was. But now they've fixed it up. Deadwood History has.
That's good.
Now you can take tours through, and they've done the rooms up like they used to be for different time periods, so you can go and see what it looked like over the years, and that's haunted as well. There's and I've done the haunted tour of that. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time.
Fun. It's like you got a lot of material for your books as far as the Deadwood series.
Right. Well, I spent a lot of time growing up there. My mom moved to Deadwood when I was just a kid.
Oh, really?
My parents, they divorced, and my dad was in Northwest Ohio, and my mom moved to Deadwood, South Dakota. And so I'd spend a lot of time there. And it's fun because as a kid, I would look at all these buildings and think, I want to go in that building, but there's no way they'll let a kid go in that building, right? But now, because I've written enough, and the town is so supportive of this.
That's great.
They'll be like, I'll say, can I, I'll try to find someone. Can I go check out, can I do a tour of the courthouse and do the basement and everything? And they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll bring you in and let you do a private tour.
Great.
It's, some people have big dreams of making big money. My dream is I'm trying to do all the different buildings I've always wanted to do in that area, getting permission. And so that's my keep writing, keep doing it, keep doing well, so that they let me see more of the buildings I've always wanted to check out.
And give you material as well, So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we covered Deadwood, but you've got, and let me just tell my audience, how many books do you currently have in the Deadwood series? You say 12? 13?
12, and I'll start
Oh.
on. I'm starting to get ready and get things going for book 13. And then I do have a second series. We talked about this, the Deadwood Undertaker series. And that's another series that I write with my husband, Sam Lucky. We co-write it together. And it's the same Deadwood series. It's the same world, only back in the 1870s. So it's Western, supernatural, humor, all mixed together. So you're seeing some of the same supernatural elements and things that were going on then. And it helps you understand why Violet is having the problems she's having now. So
they are connected in a way.
Yes, there are some connections, and there's some supernatural characters, of course, that can go,
back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and we're just releasing book 4 in that series called The Backside of Hades, and we're releasing that this next month. So that series has been a lot of fun. I think you have the Christmas book for that series. The picture of that you showed me earlier. It's
this
red.
one is this one here? No, not the. Let's see that one. No, not that one.
No, it's got a red top and that
there
one.
It is. Yes. What's it called again?
Catawampus Christmas Carol. That is a fun. We took a Christmas Carol and we kind of changed it around and made it fit with the characters. So we have Christmas past, present, future, kind of stuff like that. Only we changed it to Old West, and it's like I said, it's our characters. So it's not it just has the elements of it, and it's a lot of fun.
Is it a little more darker? Could I suggest than a Christmas Carol, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I read a couple times the Christmas Carol, or we read the actual one. And that's really dark. I mean, there's some of the death and stuff that you read about and things that are happening are really, it was darker than I realized. It made me see how I've watched a lot more Disneyized versions of it.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, oh, that was a really dark kind of story.
I mean, scary,
it's light in the end, but it was a eye opener. But so it has, some more grit to it. I mean, that whole series is gritty. It's more of a gritty. It has to
be Old West,
Yeah, and they're fighting some things that it's just strange what they're dealing with, So it's a lot of fun.
Great. Let's go back to your series again. We covered Deadwood. Any other set you'd like to talk about here?
Yeah, so Jackrabbit Junction series in the lower
right.
Lower right corner. So that one I just released book 6, Twisty Tortoise Tussles. And that, like I said, is the 6th book in that series. There's also 2 novellas that are one's Christmas.
That one here? That's the latest one. Okay.
That's the new one. So this series takes place in southeastern Arizona, down in the desert, which is why that you can see the desert in the background.
Sure.
And this is with the Morgan sisters. They're 3 sisters in their 30s, and they get into trouble. They have trouble staying out of jail. And it's not
that's a problem.
And it's not like they do really horrible things. They just get into trouble, and they're really strong. They don't back down. So sometimes they get themselves into trouble with that way. But it's also it's not supernatural. This series is mystery, a lot of humor. And there's kind of adventure. There's treasure hunting that goes on because there's a character that he's dead now at the start of the series, and he was a thief. He was a thief of thieves. He would move stolen goods, only he would skim a little always and then bury it in the desert. It was his retirement. But then he died. And in comes one of the Morgan sisters. Each of them come in time. But the first one, Claire, in the first book, which is Dance of the Winnebagos. And she finds, Dance of the Winnebagos. She finds a human leg bone. You can see the skeleton there. He's missing one of his legs.
The dog's got it, looks like.
So we're playing with that. But she finds a femur. And she's like, ooh, this is a human bone. And so it starts her getting nosy and digging around and getting into trouble. And finding trouble that almost kills her. So it's a lot of fun stuff in the Southwest. And it also, the Winnebago part, it's set in a Winnebago park. Anybody who's been to Arizona in the winter knows that they fill up. There's tons of people.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
And she's with her grandfather and his 2 retired Army vet buddies. And they're in their late 60s. They're all down there to find women because either they've lost wives or whatever, but they want to find a woman, and they've hooked up with a bunch of women in chat rooms and have them come into the RV park for like a dating thing. And she has to be down there. Her mom makes her go down. Like I said, Claire's in her mid-30s, but she has to go down because she doesn't have a job at the moment, and she needs to make sure her grandfather doesn't hook up with a gold digger. So that's her job. So the guys they don't want her there. She plays euchre with them, she, cards. She smokes cigars with them. She hangs out, and she cringes a lot at their jokes and what's going on.
Crude humor and
but it's not for kids. It's a fun, rowdy story. I always say the Rowdy Morgan sisters. Good time, fun time down in the desert.
It almost kind of sounds like Thelma and Louise a little bit.
It's rough and rowdy.
And I'm just kind of clicking up. Rand, is this part of the series too? No,
that's part of the Deadwood series. Yeah. See that little guy by her boot? Did you see him? There he is peeking out again.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. And then this is part of the other one.
This is part of the Jackrabbit. Yeah, in cahoots with the Prickly Pear Posse. And there's a sheriff in this series.
I was going to ask you, he's wearing a uniform right there.
Yeah, the sheriff of the county is involved with the oldest Morgan sister, whether he likes it or not. And the Morgan sisters give him a lot of trouble as the sheriff, but he likes the oldest sister. And so it's a fun, kind of play on relationships, between people.
In your series, both the Jackrabbit and the Deadwood series, did you get like inspiration? I mean, we talked about Deadwood, but did you get like inspiration from any like someone like a family member or a friend or a famous person, or did you just on your own kind of think of this character kind of as an original creation?
Well, for the Jackrabbit series, I was playing hangman at work when I was supposed to be working long ago. And we were playing on me and a coworker, and she had up a word, and I read it as, I said, Dance of the Winnebagos. And she goes, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And I said, I don't either, but it sounds like a really good title to a book, right? And so it started with that. And then I love Arizona. I grew up in Northwest Ohio and Deadwood, back and forth. I moved to California for a brief time and then came to Arizona after that and lived up in Flagstaff. And I just fell in love with Arizona. So it was just, I always wanted to write something set down in the desert because I think it's really beautiful. With the saguaro and all the different cacti. And if a lot of people see the desert as just big, flat, brown mountains and ugly, but there's so much life and really cool plant life down there. So I wanted to write something set down there. And I thought a Winnebago Park would be a blast because people come and go so much.
They can relate to that,
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, I've never been to Arizona. I'd love to go. But what I'm really, for me, personally interested in is the Old West. Specifically, Tombstone, obviously, the fight at the OK Corral. I mean, I'd love, of course, I've seen the movie, obviously, but just to be able to go down there and see it. Have you ever been to Tombstone yourself?
Yeah, we've been there a few times. We save it for when people come, because we live up in Prescott, which is another Old West town. So we have like the world's oldest rodeo here, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, and Prescott's really fun too. It's got the old square with some of the old, old Western buildings. It's great. But we'll go down to Tombstone, and the whole Jackrabbit series is set down in that area. So we've spent a lot of time down there researching,
Bisbee, it's all down there in that corner.
Right. And doing all that and hanging out down there. But Tombstone's fun. And you should try Deadwood too, because Deadwood's a Old West big time.
I love that stuff.
So you should. It's a lot of fun. There's great fun museums. There's all the different, it's built for tourism too. They've really built it up with hotels and have fun stuff. They have the big shooting in the street when Wild Bill Hickok got killed. They'll do
right there.
Shooting every day where they act out the whole thing and how they drag Jack McCall over to jail and all that. So it's a lot of fun.
It sounds interesting. You've got another series that I thought was kind of intriguing. And this was kind of one I got off your website too, which, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about her website here in a second. And what I'm showing you is available on her website. So stay tuned. I'll give you that address shortly. But this one, I'd like you to explain this one. This one sounds very intriguing. the Dig Site series. So kind of
So
let me know what this is about.
this is my dream since high school. I wanted to be an archaeologist, but then
Really?
I found out how much writing goes into it way back when, and I thought, that's a lot of writing. I'm not going to do that. Now, ironically, I write for a living now, so I should have probably just, stayed true. But I grew up watching Indiana Jones and all that kind of fun
Oh, I
adventure.
love Indiana Jones.
So I wanted to write a series that was set at different archaeology sites. And so the Dig Site series is set down in the Yucatan, and it's all about the Maya, their different Maya dig sites. And what's fun is, so I create my own dig sites. I build them from the ground up in my mind, drawing little maps, and have a great time doing that. And I create the temples and the different buildings, and their purposes and their history. And then I bring in the characters and I set them there. And the heroine in this series, she's an archaeologist that is dual citizen. Her mom was from like Minnesota, but her father was from Mexico. They actually work for the University of Arizona, or he does. So she's down there and she can speak both languages, fluently. And she has a job working for the government, for Mexican government, and she goes from site to site getting them ready for tourism. So her job is to go in, do some research, figure out what's so good about this site they've just uncovered, help clear it out, get it ready for the tourists to come through.
Sure.
So in doing that, there's all kinds of mysteries that happen around that, and more contemporary mysteries mixed with mysteries from the past. And this series is also supernatural. So
I like that element.
It's kind of the concept of, what if all those, supernatural ideas in the Maya religion were based on truth? Things that were creatures that actually were back then, that came from somewhere. So it ties in that supernatural with the Deadwood series, the contemporary, in that Violet Parker from the Deadwood series her brother is Quint Parker, who is the hero down at the dig sites. And he works for, he's a photographer, photojournalist. So he's down there at the start getting a story together for one of the, archaeology magazines. So it's kind of him coming in with the archaeologist and all that goes on. So I have 2 in that series, and I plan to write the 3rd in that series next year. It just takes a lot more time and research. Yeah. And I foolishly made the heroine able to read hieroglyphs, their length.
The Egyptian hieroglyphs. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Maya version.
Mine too, yeah.
If you do that, then you have to learn a little. So I spend a lot of time learning how,
research.
Yes. It takes me a little bit more time to write those.
You said something that really intrigues me. I like it when authors do this. Like, for example, your Deadwood series is its own series. Right. And we just talked about the dig site. But yet there's a character in Deadwood and a character in Dig series that are connected.
Right.
Even though they've, they are their own adventures. I know I've always liked that. It's almost kind of like it's not really technically a spin-off, but you know what I mean? Where you have two characters that maybe have a common bond, whether they're their neighbors, their family, or whatever, but you get to see this family or this family member do one thing and this family member do this thing. So I kind of like the way you've kind of interconnected it. But
and I love the crossover. And
that's the word I was looking for.
the Jackrabbit Junction series that stars those 3 Morgan sisters always get in trouble. They grew up in the house next to Violet Parker from the Deadwood series. So they know each other. Violet Parker's best friend in that series is their cousin. So there's a lot of crossover with characters going, back and forth.
I like that
too. And like the Deadwood Undertaker, like we talked about, there's crossovers. I like the idea of building just a huge world and having subworlds. I mean, if you think like Disney World or Disneyland or amusement parks where they have different themed park areas, sub-parks, I like the feel of that for me as a reader. When I come across an author, I like where I can go, now we'll go over here and read about this person. And now we'll go read about this.
I like that.
So I wanted to do that with all the series I have them. So if you like it and you share a sense of humor with me, go over and check out this one too. You might like that world too. And those people.
Yeah, for sure. And then we talked about that. And then did we talk about the AC Silly Circus series?
No, we haven't talked about that. And I am
very curious. Now, how many books in this series do you have of the circus?
So far, there's just 2 novellas, and this started out.
Is this one of them?
That's the second one, yeah. And I'd like to
Okay.
write more. I do plan to eventually write more.
The
The thing
Silly
was,
Circus. Okay.
it started out with Fairly Funny Freak Show, and this is a shapeshifter world. It's
Oh, I like that.
humans, but that shapeshift. But they work for the circus, but they're not just your average circus. They're the shapeshifters that are oddballs in the shapeshifting world. So you have this circus, and they travel by train and go from town to town. And I'd like to do one for different states. I've done the first one I think was in Mississippi, and the second one was this one is in Louisiana. And my next plan is I call it Armadillo, Texas, not
Okay.
Amarillo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do Texas, please.
Yes, and it's going to be Armadillo, Texas, and I want to do the circus train stops there, and there's a little mystery, death, something in each one that the characters in that series have to solve. And
Mhm.
it started out, a friend of mine wrote for Kindle Worlds, and she had a series, and then she invited me and many others to write in her world. So I did, but I made it very just, I touched her characters. I didn't really have them as main in mind. So Amazon's shut down the Kindle Worlds program, and we got our rights back. So here I had this first book with all these fun characters and this crazy mystery with shape-shifting and romance and all kinds of crazy stuff.
It does look. Even the art, the cover art is intriguing.
So my brother, like I said, my brother does my cover art, and I told him do our dad and our uncle. They were monkeys, and one smoking a cigar. So I mean, it doesn't really look like them, but when I see that, that's who it is.
Inspiration. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Do
So
they
this,
know about that? Do they?
I don't know if they do yet.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't say anything. But it
But
does look intriguing, though.
it's fun. I mean, when you read that, you just have to open your mind to, we're dealing with people that can shapeshift into bears, a rabbit, and you can shapeshift into different things. So even the people, when they're human form, aren't really quite normal. But it's a lot of fun. And I always tell people, if you go into the circus series, just relax. You're going to the circus, and it's going to be a wild time, as you go. But
Yeah.
it is fun to like when I wrote the book you showed, I was in Louisiana. So we go to Louisiana a lot. We like Louisiana. And so I got
Uh-huh.
to include a lot of the food in Louisiana that's going to be at the fair,
Oh, really? Wow.
and a voodoo priestess and all that kind of fun stuff that you think about with some of these different places. So I really would like to write the Texas one. I think we could have a great time.
Let me know. I'm interested, obviously. I'm a little prejudiced there, but yeah, I would love to see read a Texas story. When you say shape shifter, say that
Yeah.
real fast.
Sure.
I think of, I don't know if you saw that series, but True Blood, there was a Sam Murlock character who was a shapeshifter, and he could shape into anything, from a fly to a rat to I think
To
an
whatever.
eagle. Yeah, what?
Yeah. No, I mean, I hadn't written shapeshifters before that series. And so I went, I've written some supernatural stuff and creatures and, different kinds of ghosts and stuff, but not that. So that was I felt like it was a cartoon. I kept seeing it as a cartoon in my head, and I had to go, no. Pull back from that, because it's not for kids. It's not a kid's book. There's some language in it, and there's romance in that one. It's a little bit heavier because the main book I was trying to connect with, she wrote romances. So, but I added mystery and all this other stuff in it too.
I'm thinking of also not just the Sam Murlock character, but even in the X-Men series, they had Mystique, who
Oh,
could
right.
go into anybody or anything that she
Yeah.
wanted. So
Yeah.
I bet that would be I bet that was very interesting for you to write about. I mean, because
It was. Yeah. It was totally different from everything I'd done. And so I really had to step back and go, okay, let's attack this differently. And how will this, and they're novellas. So they're about 30 to 35,000 words. So they're not super long. And I usually write 130,000 word books. So
wow.
This was like, how can we shorten everything, but still have a good story mixed in? So
I figure with shape-shifting, your possibilities are endless. I mean, for example, if your hero or your heroine gets in trouble, I mean, he or she can go into like a little bitty mosquito or large as an elephant. So you kind of have authors, your what am I trying to say? Your creation. You can create what you want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what. So I had the big guy, the guy that turns into a bear. He shapeshifts into a bear. And a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
times in romances, the bear, they have these really sexy guys that turn into big bears. But my guy that turns into a bear, in the human world, he's big and awkward and uncomfortable, you know. And when he shifts into a bear, the problem he has, the reason he's an oddity in the shapeshifting world is his role is to do the old, you know, where they swallow fire as a bear. That's his circus role. But anytime he gets fire close to him, he panics. He's afraid of fire. So he's afraid of burning up. So that's where I have the humor and the fun. And that's why they're not normal. You know, they're not a normal circus. They have their quirks in what they can do and what they are afraid of and how they handle stuff. So, yeah. And those two brothers on the front, those are the Monkey Brothers. They run the concession stands. So
They're brothers in the story, though.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
called the Monkey Brothers. That's what everybody calls them. So, and they're a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, there's more books we want to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, but I do want to talk about Anne has her own website, which I'll bring up on the screen right here. So, Anne, you have your own website, AnneCharles.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that is AnneCharles.com. So, can you tell our audience, Anne, what would they see or what all would they see if they come to your website there?
Sure. So I have just a few different tabs. I have books, I have Connect with Me, I have the blog. And the blog is not really, I don't go on and blog. I'm no good at that regular stuff. But what we do put on there is every time I send a newsletter out, and you can sign up for the newsletter through the website,
Okay.
but every time I put a newsletter out, which is about once a month or once every other month, then we'll take the contents of the newsletter and put it in the blog so you can go find those. Like I said, every year we have a Deadwood fan party where people come from all around.
Oh, wow.
All over the U.S. I mean, it's amazing where people come in from. And you can see the details on what the parties for each year is, what's going to happen and what are our events. And like any interviews I do like this, we'll put a link to it so you can go back and watch it. If you're really bored and you're looking for something, you can go listen to several different, podcasts and interviews I've done. And then there in the books page, you've been showing where they show the different series.
Yes.
If you click on one of those, it'll take you to the series. And it'll give you a little write-up about the book, and then it'll list all the different ways you can either get an ebook, you can get a print book, you can order a print book from my store, and I'll autograph it for you personalize it. And there's audiobooks for all these too, so you can see some of the links on where you can go to get them in audio. So the website is kind of the place to go to see, and all the different social media sites I'm on are listed in there in the Connect with Me.
So that was my next question. They can connect with you. They can email you or contact you one way or the other?
Yeah, Facebook I'm on the most. It's just the easiest. And I'm old school, so it's one of the easier platforms for me to manage. I'm on Instagram. I've just started on TikTok. Oh, boy. But that is busy.
I'm not on TikTok, but I've heard a lot of you have to really be on top of that.
I don't think I'm talented enough to be on TikTok.
I'm with you.
They want me to do like juggling or something while I tell you about my books, and I can't do that. But I am on there, and then I'm on LinkedIn. But you can contact me through social media, and I'll write you back. You can email me, all kinds of different ways. And if I'm super busy, it might take me a week. But I do go through and get back with people when they write to me, and because I really appreciate taking the time to reach out to me. I mean, we're all busy, so
absolutely. Well, I want to say that while we got your website here on the screen, they can buy your books on your website. Are there other places that your books are available, like online, or there's a Barnes and Noble, a bookstore, or where can they get your books at?
I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere. Worldwide, right?
Worldwide, I am. I'm in Apple. I'm a Kobo. Amazon. I'm Barnes and Noble. I'm in several other. I'm in Walmart.
That's great.
All kinds of stores for ebooks and print books and audiobooks. Some of them are more wide. It depends on, some are just the main guys, but others series are wide. So you can get them all over the place. So yeah, you can go to my website and you'll see some of the places, or just go to where you usually buy books or ebooks or audiobooks and type in Anne Charles. And most of the time I'm there, which is, I've been doing this since 2011. I've been published since 2011.
11 years. They're 12 years almost. Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
That gives me a lot of time to keep put stuff out there all over the place and try to reach people.
And I got to tell my audience something. Every author appreciates it when you buy his or her book And if you really like it, leave a review online. I can't tell you how much authors appreciate that, because doesn't that improve your viewership, or does that?
Right. I mean, I have some amazing readers and fans that
That's
they'll read
great.
it and right away the book will come out, and within a couple weeks I'll have hundreds of reviews because
Wow.
they know that's what we need to reach. And I always feel like we're going out as a team. I may put the book out, but it's all of us together trying to go forth and reach new readers and find people that share our sense of humor. And they, the readers are just wonderful. We work together. It's not like, oh, it's all me. And, I always try to do stuff. We have promo teams after each book releases where you can sign up, and 150 plus people sign up usually with every
Wow.
book, and they help us tell everybody, so we all work together, and go forth. And it's because of them that I have so many helpful reviews. And I always tell people, if you don't know if you're going to like my books, definitely read the reviews. Read the good, read the hater reviews, see what the haters
You're
say.
always going to have haters,
Yeah,
always. Yeah.
see what the people that love it say. Maybe this isn't your cup of tea, and maybe in the reviews you'll learn that. Or maybe, hey, you're curious enough to give it a try.
Sure. Okay. I think we got another series here. Did we cover Holiday Tales? Or did we
No,
talk?
and Holiday Tales is really, I've written over the, boy, what is it, 12 years now? 11 years?
Mm-hmm.
I've written a lot of holiday books within the different series that cover Christmas or New Year's, or one of the favorites is in Jackrabbit Junction, and it's Wild Turkey Tango. It's a Thanksgiving tale, and it's a lot of fun. I had so much fun writing
Really?
that crazy story. And they're novellas or short stories. And so we collected them all and we put them in holiday tales. So if you're in the holiday mood and you just want to go find a holiday book, all these books, even though they're part of a bigger series, I try to write them so that you can read it as just as a single story, and know the characters enough to enjoy the story. So that's Holiday Tales series. It's just all the series and which holidays we have for that.
How many books would you say are in the Holiday Tales?
I think we're
Approximately
up to 5 or 6
5 or 6.
now. I think I need to add. I think there's a couple that have come in that I need to tag and make sure they're in that grouping.
Okay.
But yeah, the Christmas Carol one that you
This one.
and this one, Old Man's Back in Town. Now that's a mystery. That's number 6 series that I haven't gotten
Okay.
beyond this book. But I wrote this short story, and it was a lot of fun. And it's set in a town in Nevada, and I really want to. I want to write more of this series, and I already know how it'll tie in with Deadwood and all the other, with some supernatural. But I just don't have time yet to get to that. So
You've got so many fires burning right now, sounds like.
yes, yeah, and I'm not a fast writer, so I can only put out 2 to 3 books a year, and that's it. So I do what I can.
So is this kind of a, did you say it's a kind of a twist on the Christmas Carol
This
series?
one's the twist on Groundhog Day. That kind
Groundhog
of where
Day.
things start over again, and the mystery is
Yes. Uh-huh.
trying to figure out what is going on, and then we start again, but it's different. It keeps shifting, and so you're trying to figure out through the story what is going on in this thing, and what is happening here, what's real and what's not real, and so it's kind of a fun little game, if you will, with the story.
Okay. And I think you have I don't know if this is a standalone. I had this one up here too. Yeah, this is
Oh,
part of the
that's
Deadwood series.
so. I
Okay.
guess this is another series I have,
This Deadwood Shorts. This is a
but
little bit
it's
different.
but it's tied. It's
Oh,
tied directly to the Deadwood Mystery Series, the
is it?
contemporary. And there's 5 of these shorts so far, and I keep writing them. And what they are is they're novellas or short stories, and they're stories about things in the big series that I didn't want to slow down the big books with.
Sure.
So you'll learn about characters past and how this came to be. So there's Seeing Trouble, there's Boot Points, what is it? Cold Flame instead of Old Flame. Again, we're playing with the words, and it's Cold Flame. And then there's Tequila in Time and Fatal Traditions.
Okay.
So those are books that you don't have to read them, but they will, if you enjoy the series, they give you a lot more background, and they're fun. I try to make them stories on their own that you can enjoy.
I like the way you play the words on this one too. You said it's seeing double. You got seeing trouble here.
Right, right. And this is about how Violet and her kids, her twins, and more,
Oh, okay.
and things that happened when she was pregnant with the twins and how things all went. So that's why it's double in trouble. Is we're going back to pre-kids and things that happen.
Interesting. Let's see. Did we talk about that one?
That's the dig site. Yeah, that's the first book.
That's
Look
the
what the
dig
wind
side of the
did.
dig site. Okay.
Yeah, that's the dig site series.
So, yeah, I mean, there's just, ladies and gentlemen, now I told you at the beginning, when she says series, she means series. So, I mean, just heard your description alone. I like it when I see books that are continuations.
Hmm.
Sometimes I've read books before where it's a great book, but then the story ends. But then sometimes like, well, what happened to the characters? Give me more
Right,
character.
right.
I have to fill in the blanks myself. It's not like you've got a whole world you've created basically.
Right, and these aren't standalones like the Hardy Boys. It's not like that where it's the same characters but a total different mystery.
Different story.
This is a series that runs, time-wise, boom, boom, boom. Like we're on book 13 of the Deadwood Undertaker series, and in time, I
Wow.
believe we've gone through 7 months of what's happened in 13 books, cover 7 months of time. So each book you could read alone, and it comes, has an arc, has a plot and a
Sure.
story arc. But then I have a whole series arc for each series where the books fit in. So if you really like the characters, they keep going. It's like everyday life, what's going on with them, like what you said. You can keep finding out more about them and how life's going. And that's kind of how the series runs. It's better if you start at the beginning, but you
Sure.
can start at any point. You get a better feel for everything if you start way back in the
Yeah,
beginning.
it's like you get better feel, more atmosphere, more environment. You kind of
Right.
when
You know
you
the characters well. And so when you come to certain parts, you're like, oh, wow, this character's doing this now. Oh, this is exciting. Yeah.
it kind of comes full circle.
Right.
Well, and let me ask you a personal question. Now you've written all these years. You've got a lot of experience. There might be somebody watching this, whether they're watching live or watching this days, weeks, months from now, and maybe they're intrigued not just by your writing, that too, of course, but maybe he or she has written something, whether a
Hmm.
short story or a novel, and it's just sitting there on their desk, and they're just confused. Okay, I've got my story. Now, what do I do? What would you suggest to him or her?
Well, boy, first of all, take baby steps because this is overwhelming. This
Mm-hmm.
whole writing business and marketing and all that goes into it. I mean, again, I've been doing this for a long time, so it may seem like, oh, I have all these things out there. But then again, think about how many years I've been doing this to
Yeah.
build. So you start with the idea that, okay, I'm going to build something here. And what do I want to do? That's one of the things I often ask new writers. What do you want to do with your stories? Are you writing to scare people? Are you writing to teach people things? Are you writing just to entertain? I mean,
Make them laugh or whatever. Yeah.
my goal is to take you out of your normal world and give you something to laugh and cringe and
Yeah.
enjoy and take you away for a little
Sure.
bit. That's what I want to do. And if I can make you smile and I can give you help you relax and get away from the real world when it's really crappy,
The
especially,
news and all that. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I want. I'm not out to teach you how to clean your house, or anything like that. I'm here to just entertain you and give you an escape. So, first of all, what do you want to do? And secondly, how are you going to reach people? If you want to just write for yourself and put books out on Amazon, do it. Go for it. But if you really want to do this for a living, like I do, be prepared. Like any entrepreneurial job, it's going to take everything you'll feed it and more. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have a family, you're going to have to learn how to balance children and the spouse with this. Fortunately, my spouse is in the business with me, so we
That's
do this
great.
together, so it works really well. I suck family members in all the time. What are your talents? Can you help?
Yeah.
And I don't expect stuff for free. That's big. Whether it's with a family member helping or with another author who I need some help, maybe a quote for a cover.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a trade going on, or with people that help and work for us. So we try to pay them, and so you have to kind of think about that too. But start small, just start building, and if you want to go with a publisher, then do your research. Be careful. There's a lot of sharks out there trying to get money
I'm
from
sure.
authors. So just do your research, ask around if anyone's heard of them, ask if you know somebody's working with them, and go forth carefully, because you own the copyrights to your work until you sign them away. And once you sign them away these days, a lot of them you can't get back because they will hold it. So be very careful. Learn about copyrights and what's involved with that. Protect your intellectual property as much as you can.
Absolutely. Well, Ann, it has been a great hour talking to you, but I do want to show everybody, the ones that have just tuned in, again, when I can't stress it enough, ladies and gentlemen, the series is exactly what it means. Series. There are several books, and if you looking at this on your iPhone, you can't read it. There's a AC Silly Circus series, a Deadwood series, a Holiday Tales series, a Jackrabbit Junction series, and here is a Dig Site series, and there was one more that I didn't feature. What was it, Ann?
It's the Deadwood Undertaker series.
Deadwood Undertaker series.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, you've got several books. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for some books and if you don't like standalone books, you want to keep following a character, then I strongly suggest you get Ann's books and pick the ones that you like. And again, here is her website, ladies and gentlemen. That is AnnCharles.com, AnnCharles.com, where you will see all of her works. And I noticed, Ann, you've talked about your future works on this website as well.
Yes, I do try to keep, because readers are always saying, what's next? When's the next one coming? Are you writing more of these? Please tell me you didn't end this series. And I always tell them, no, all my books, for the most part, end with the end, ... for now. And I do that because that's me telling you there's more to come. So don't worry. We finished this chapter of the story, but there's going to be more to come.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to it too, Ann. Well, Ann, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it sounds like you've got a very busy schedule, but glad you're here to talk to us tonight.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. And I need to show you my cup. I forgot I'm drinking out of this for you Texans.
Buc-ee's. Yeah. That's almost a religion down here. So.
Well, I'll tell you, we live over in Arizona, and we've talked about several times, how about we just take a trip for 3 days and we go to a Buc-ee's? That's our end point.
You'll
and then
never
we turn
forget
around and come home, and because I love them. I mean, we go in there. Every time we travel through Texas, which is usually yearly, we go out of our way to hit one. So I do love Buc-ee's. So
that's almost as popular as I don't know if you've heard of Whataburger. That's that's big here too. So we got a lot of Texas things here. So yeah, when you come through our Lone Star, make sure you hit Buc-ee's and Whataburger. Those are like a must stop places.
Yes, I agree. I love it. And we'll spend an hour or so. It's like, everybody get the cooler, get it ready. We're going to fill it with a bunch of food from Buc-ee's and all kinds of treats to get us clear home to Arizona. So let's fill her up because it's so much fun. It's such a great thing.
And before we sign off, I do want to show you a comment from our live audience who's watching this live. Sandra Piper says, I will look for her books. She is talented. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. I hope they give you some smiles. That's my goal. Like I said, just something to, when you're feeling frustrated, or even if you're having a good day, you want to escape. I hope these books will give you some chuckles.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Anna. We appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing more books from your series.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me on, Bob. It's been a lot of fun.
Have a great night.
Thanks. Bye.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it all for tonight's episode. Again, this was the 80th episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. And again, many thanks to every single guest I've had on this show. I could not have done 80 episodes without each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And thank you to my subscribers, the ones that tune in each week to watch this live, and even those that watch this much later, days, weeks, months, maybe years from now. I appreciate it. But make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that little thumbs up button so you can like this video if you really like what you see. And again, go to AnnCharles.com if you'd like to see more of her work. So that's going to do it for me tonight. This is Bob Van Buren. I'll be back next week with another guest and an equally interesting topic. So I will see you all then. Good night.